program may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Discretion is advised. When you look into the face of darkness, it stares back at you. The question is, who's watching who? Welcome to the dark side. This is the Watchers Paranormal Podcast.
Tonight's episode is titled The Wake-Up Call. I'm going to set it up for you here and give you a little background information on the story. So, husband and wife living in a home, 3-story home is what he told me, and he works different shifts. His wife works a day shift, so she always leaves the house every morning at 5 a.m. So that one particular morning, this fellow will, just for the sake of telling the story, we're going to call him Phil. And his wife had got up that morning, went downstairs, usual routine, made her tea, got her breakfast ready, and getting ready to go off to work. And then suddenly he got woken up, and his wife said, "Did you just run across the hallway?" And he says, "Oh, you just woke me up. I've been sleeping." He goes, "Oh, that's odd. I was downstairs making my tea and getting my lunch ready, and it sounded like someone just walked across from the spare bedroom over into our room. I thought it might have been you going to the bathroom down the hall, but we have a bathroom in the ensuite, just kind of odd." And he says, "No, I've been hearing that." She says, "Oh, that's weird." So she walked away, left him alone, went back downstairs, getting her stuff ready, and then she hears again someone walking. And so she comes to the foot of the staircase, and right on the landing there, she kind of peeks her head over. Of course, there's nobody there, and she calls out to him again. She goes, "Phil, are you walking around upstairs?" And he's like, wakes up and he goes, "Oh, what?" And he goes, No. He's just, I'm in bed. He says, "It's twice you've woken me up. I got to get up in a couple of hours." Says, he says, "What are you doing to me?" And she said, "Something weird's going on here." She goes, "Someone's walking around." She goes, "And I don't want to tell you this, but this is not the first time it's happened. Apparently, in the last few months, she had heard this several times. She didn't want to spook anyone and get them all freaked out and get herself freaked out, but it's just that morning it was so obvious, and she thought, you know what, I got to go investigate this." Anyway, turns out she kept hearing this, so they just left it as that. He goes back to bed. She goes outside. You can hear the garage door close. So he closes his eyes and he's trying to get back to sleep. Let's have a quick break, and when we return, I will continue with the wake-up call.
I hope you're enjoying listening to Watchers Paranormal. If you'd like to become a sponsor on our podcast or just want to advertise, please send us an email at watchersparanormal@mail.com. We will then contact you with several options and packages available for advertising with us. Again, thank you for listening to Watchers Paranormal.
Welcome back to Watchers Paranormal. Now let's continue with the wake-up call. It goes like this. In his own words, not even a minute later, he hears somebody whisper his name in the room. "Phil." He's like, "What?" And he realized that. Hang on a second. Wife's not here. She's gone. I heard the garage door close. I heard the car drive off. I'm by myself. What was that? Was I maybe just at that point where I'm about to fall asleep, or did I just hear that in my mind or whatnot? Whatever. So he ignores it. And then he's got his eyes closed, and he's trying to go back to sleep and stuff. And then not long afterwards, he hears it again, but this time it's closer. He hears, "Phil." And this time he just, whoa, okay, you know what? I heard that. It's not my imagination. But at the same time, he was home alone, and he was a bit of a chicken. So he said to himself, I'm not going to get up and turn around because I don't know what I'm going to see here, right? I'm by myself. I don't want to, go into shock here and just boom, that's it. That's how it's all going to end. So he just ignored it, just grabbed the blanket, put it a little bit higher over his head. And he's laying there, and he's like, I can't believe this is happening. He says, this is really odd. So anyway, this time he says, I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to stay here and, see what happens. Let's ride this out. Still dark outside, so, it's going to be light shortly, another 40 minutes or so. So let's see what happens. So a couple of minutes go by, and just as he thought, okay, you know what, everything's cool. Then he hears it again. This time, it's literally like right behind him. It says, "Phil!" Jumps, grabs the blanket, wraps himself in the blanket. He's literally in his bed going, holy crap, there is someone standing next to my bed. I know for a fact there was someone standing next to my bed. He says, I don't want to turn around. I don't want to see what's there. I just want to, this is a bad dream. It's got to stop. So he just says, hell with that. I'm just going to stay here in bed until the sun comes up, and I'm not going to even bother finding out what's going on. He was really freaked out. Nothing happened, and about 5 minutes later, said as he's just about to go to sleep, he could just, feel himself starting to drift off. Suddenly the blanket got pulled down from where his feet were, all the way down to his back. He freaks, he yells, he jumps up, he turns around, there's nothing there. Someone pulled the blanket off of him. Someone's trying to get his attention. Who was it? So he got up, ran towards the light switch, flipped it on, looked around nervously, opened the door to the bathroom. He was going on a room-to-room hunt. He was convinced somebody was upstairs. So he went through, pulled back the shower curtains, made sure nobody was standing behind their classic horror movie situation. Went to the closets, opened the closets, went to the other spare bedroom, went to his office, went to the other bathroom. He went everywhere on that floor. He says, I've had enough of this. I'm going to go take a shower. So goes and takes a shower, comes out of the shower, goes into there's a walk-in closet. And it's quite a big closet. And as he walks in, he catches something at the corner of his eye. Now, as soon as you walk into the closet, right on the ceiling is a panel. If you push that panel upwards and to the side, it gives you access to the attic. Now, I don't know if you guys remember the Paranormal Activity movies. I believe it was the original one, when the couple found inside their walk-in closet, there was that little door, that little panel that could be pushed aside to give you access to the attic. I don't know if you remember them going up there and finding, some of the stuff was moved around, and they found an old picture of one of the people involved there that was kind of burnt and stuff. Anyway, this interesting enough, this closet is actually very similar to the one in the movie. So, and he had seen the movie apparently, so he really freaked out. He looks and he sees, and of course the panel is pushed over to the side. Now, two things. Either something went up there, or something came down from there. Now, like I said before, this guy's a real chicken, but somehow he mustered the courage and strength to, check it out. So he goes downstairs and grabs like a 5-6 foot step ladder. Grabs his phone, puts the light on, uses it as a flashlight. So he goes up the ladder very slowly, puts the flashlight up. You see the rafters there in the attic. And he starts calling out, and of course he just hears his own voice echoing inside the attic. So he sticks his head up, and now his head's above the ceiling. He starts to turn his phone around. And of course he's looking, and of course he's very paranoid, so he turns around quickly and he looks behind him with the phone, just to make sure nothing's standing there. At the same time, he's got to be careful not to fall off that ladder. Now he's like 7 or 8 feet up in the air. So he notices one section of the attic where the insulation looks like it's been disturbed. And he notices there's a garbage bag there with some, garbage. He's like, what the hell? But at this point, they had been living in this house for about 4 years now. 3-4 years, I think. So he manages to push himself up. So he's up in the attic now. Now he's got to be careful not to go through the ceiling. So he's walking on the actual beams. And he goes over and he picks up the bag. And there's garbage in there, like potato chip bags, coffee cups, and just like paper towel and stuff and whatnot. And he's like, you know, the first thing comes to mind is he thought, well, maybe when they were building the house, whoever was up there, one of the contractors maybe had left some garbage and, thought about it. But I mean, it's like 3-4 years now. It would have been smelly and rotting and really, bad, decomposed. It looked like it was probably maybe a month old. It hadn't been there that long, and that really freaked him out. So he was convinced somebody was in the house. So he grabs the garbage bag, comes back down, lowers himself onto the ladder, gets down on the ladder, takes a picture of everything, and calls his wife up. And he says to her, listen, you mentioned that somebody kept walking around and whatnot during the night after you left. Well, guess what? This is what I saw when I got up in the walk-in closet. This is what I found. She starts freaking out, so she calls the builder up. Okay? But in the meantime, he's really paranoid, and he says, should I call the police? And anyway, so he was kind of contemplating that. So he finishes getting dressed there. He gets his stuff together, goes downstairs. Of course, he closes the panel on the attic door. So he goes down, and when he goes downstairs, he thought he heard someone in the basement. And again, he's alone in the house. His wife's not at home. No pets, no kids, nothing. It's like, you know what? Is it possible someone was living up there all this time and we're not home? He or she comes down, helps themselves and stuff, is in and out when they please, and then that's it, right? So he goes down there because apparently when you go down his stairs to his basement, it's unfinished. It's just all concrete and stuff. But underneath, there's a crawl space that's probably about, I'd say about 6 feet wide and about maybe 4 feet high, and it runs the whole length, probably the whole length of his garage out to the front door. So that's quite a bit of crawl space there, and of course there's no lights under there. So he flips the lights on, goes down the stairs to the basement, and starts walking around, starts, pulling some things away from the walls and stuff. Like, I guess they had some storage there, some boxes and whatnot. And so he hears a noise again behind him, like something shifting. He's convinced someone's there. So he grabs a baseball bat that's sitting on the side of the wall there. Slowly walks over and starts calling out, hey, is anybody down here? I'm not joking around. I've got a bat in my hands, and I'm ready to use it. Show yourself. There's this rustling again. And he starts to zero in the direction where it's coming from. Sure enough, it's coming from underneath the crawl space. It's pitch black in there. You can't see anything. I mean, the lights are on in the basement, but underneath the crawl space is dark. He grabs his phone, puts the flashlight on, and he aims it inside. There's some boxes up against the sides of the walls, some Christmas ornaments, some sports equipment. And he starts to, bend down to get underneath into the crawl space. And he hears, not in the crawl space, but right behind him, he freezes. He's like, oh crap. So whatever is here is now, I'm stuck under here, and this is right behind me. He ignored it for a couple of seconds and thought, hopefully it'll go away. He starts to back up out of the crawl space. He's still bent down. Turns around really slowly. He looks and there's nothing there. But he notices that the blinds on the patio door are just moving slightly, as if someone had just walked by, ran their fingers through them. So now he's under the impression that, look, whatever's down here is probably not human at all. I don't know what I'm dealing with. I'm not an expert in these things, but I'll tell you right now, I'm scared as heck, and I gotta get out of here. He puts the bat down, grabs his car keys, adjusts the lights, goes out to the garage, gets in his car, out of there. As soon as he gets to work, he calls his wife. And so they decided to get the services of a medium. And she did come to the house a week later. He did a saging, went through and explained to them that through the historical records of the town they lived in, that area where their house was built, it was a new home. I guess years ago, or maybe even a century before, there was an old settlement there, and there was a general store, a trading post, and there was a fire. And in that fire, a few people did perish. Practically not far from where this house was built. So she thinks that what you heard that night was probably one of these lost souls that had perished in the fire, probably looking for help or something. But he still couldn't explain how we found the attic panel opened up. It had to be a physical thing. Either something went up or came down from there. So she cleansed the house. In a few years, they still live in that home. Nothing unusual has happened. But he'll never forget that morning when he was in bed and heard something call his name out 3 times. We're going to conclude the story of the wake-up call. I hope you've enjoyed it. I did. Really scary. You know, sometimes you hear things around the house and you can chalk it up to being the cat, maybe the dog, or sometimes furniture popping and cracking, or just environmental things happen. I mean, most things can be explained. But in these particular cases, or in this particular case, how do you explain that? So to this day, it still remains a mystery of exactly what happened in there or who was involved. I mean, you can imagine many things, but we'll just leave it as that for now.